Oh, look at this. We've never met. I heard about this through Chris Duffy's email newsletter. Chris Duffy, for those writing emails at home, Chris Duffy's a professional comedian. He's also a friend of mine. He's been on this show. He also has an email newsletter. Unlike my email newsletter, his doesn't really use curse words. His spends a lot of time sharing content that he thinks is funny and great that other people have done. You know, there's a lot of sort of like New York Times lifestyle section energy in Chris Duffy's email newsletter, right? You better believe that if like the New York Times lifestyle section puts out an article that's like, you know, the top 10 best sweet pies to bring with you on a camping trip, like Chris Duffy's going to send that out this weekend in his email newsletter. Yeah, right. I'm also on his email newsletter. You know what? I'd like to know what his email unsubscribe rate is. I'd really like to know. I feel like it's probably lower than mine because my email newsletter is hostile and problematic. But I'd like to know. I'd like to know how much better I'd be doing if I wasn't hostile and problematic. It'll change nothing. It'll change nothing. Let that be known. If Chris Duffy told me that his email unsubscribe rate was like 0.5%, I wouldn't change my lifestyle at all. But I would be curious to know. His last email sent out had a link to a Jim Gaffigan stand-up set that he spoke really highly about. And he also said that Jim Gaffigan's a different comedian that doesn't use curse words. Chris Duffy said that. Look how these fucking comedians all run together when they don't use curse words. Look at that. Look at them all sitting together in the cafeteria. So he sent out this Jim Gaffigan thing that he said was really funny and great. It was like a 5-minute Jim Gaffigan set. I tried watching it. I couldn't get through it. I really couldn't. It was tight. That guy has a lot of bits and they're all fucking tight and he's roped them all together. But guys, enough with the bits. Like that. I sometimes say on my show that I have a style of comedy that is not funny and does not include jokes. And I'm sort of kidding when I say that. But Jim Gaffigan's 5 minutes of camping sort of made me realize why, like, maybe I don't believe in jokes. If that's what jokes are, like he comes right in the first 10 seconds. He's like, well, my wife took me camping. I don't really like it because I'm indoorsy. And there's the first one. And then he's right on to the next one. He's like, well, in my family, we didn't do that because my parents didn't love us. Ha, ha, ha. It was like, if that's what you got to do, if you're doing joke comedy, I regret nothing. And if that's how hard you got to work, you know, if you say, I'm going to be a comedian who doesn't use curse words, and then the next thing you do is you just cram like 500 fucking camping jokes into a 5-minute set. I mean, I get that the guy's working hard, but who gives a shit? Anyway, listen, it's true that I'm going after Gaffigan hard, but that guy's a fucking superstar, right? I mean, that guy's feeding his whole family with his 5-minute set of camping jokes. So, you know, he can afford for some weird guy in the dark to talk trash for 5 minutes. I don't understand what the issue is. I don't with curse words as a comedian. Like, what are you gaining by not doing it in the world we live in where Donald Trump is the fucking president? Like, the president of the United States of America uses curse words. You know what I mean? Like, who on earth is going to be offended if you started using curse words? I really don't understand what you gain by not doing it. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I think it's nonsensical as like a professional move. I really just don't believe that there's like a segment you're going to lose in Plague World. You know, maybe 100 years ago, yes, that you couldn't get booked if you said fuck, right? But those days are over. So I don't believe that it's a professional thing where it's like you can get a segment that you wouldn't get otherwise if you don't curse. I don't believe that's what it is. So what does that leave? It means they have some kind of moral objection to it. I mean, I'll get Chris back on the show. I'll ask him, and I'll also ask him to speak for Jim Gaffigan. I have no problem doing that. I'll ask Chris, and then I'll say, also, Chris, you have to answer this question as a spokesperson for Jim Gaffigan. You have to do that. I'll ask him what he says, but it's got to be some kind of fucking principled stance against curse words. And I just think like that's what needs your attention. Really? You know, with the rise, with like the worldwide rise of far-right extremism and a terrible disease that is keeping us all indoors and is killing people, and an election where the peaceful in the United States, where the peaceful transfer of power is sort of an open question, and there's like militias that are planning to kidnap governors, and there's like protests, and protesters are killing each other, and counter protesters are killing protesters, and like people are having serious, sober conversations about the possibility of civil war. In light of all that, I want to talk to the guy who thinks not using curse words is productive. You know what I mean? Like, what do we get from that? Where do we gain? Because Jim Gaffigan can do 5 minutes about camping and there's no cursing. That's what I'd like to know. And what would happen if he did curse? Right? What's that world look like? What would happen if Jim Gaffigan did fucking Carnegie Hall and they charge like $200 a ticket, and he walks out on stage and then he just comes out and he's like, hey, guess what? Fuck this. You know, I think it would be powerful. I think it would be cool if Jim Gaffigan was like, I've been saving this up for a long time. This is like one of those times when like you don't jerk off for a week. I've been doing that for longer than a week. And you ready? It was all for this. It was also that I could say, you know what, Plague World, fuck this. And fuck me for not using curse words. I've decided that I'm going to take on some of the bigger issues now. I'm done talking about camping bullshit. I'm going to say fuck. And I'm going to talk about stuff that warrants saying fuck for once. I think that would be cool. I would pay $200 to see that. It would be the first time I paid any money to see any Jim Gaffigan thing. I wouldn't regret it. Chris, we spent a lot of time talking about you today. One thing I would like to know is what's the unsubscribe rate for your newsletter?
It goes dramatically up if I have mentioned Email Pro.
Yeah.
It's somewhere between 0 and -10. Like I gain subscribers, and then when Email Pro's mentioned, like 100%, like refresh.
All right, that's
whole new list.
Funny. Cool.
No, I would say my typical one is in a typical week, I gain a few and I lose a few, and it almost always like evens out.
But I mean,
here's the weird thing: a lot of people unsubscribe in the middle of the week. I send it on Saturday, and then people unsubscribe like Thursday, and I'm like, what happened here? You had to think about it.
That's not how people do it with me. I send an email and
it's instantaneous.
Immediately.
People, there's no debating. With me, it's like, I guess I don't want this anymore.
Okay, so but you don't know, like if you added up all the number of people who have ever been enrolled in your thing, and
I think it's like 10. I think it's like 10% total.
That's fucking low. I knew it was going to be low.
But I don't really add people very often, and certainly there's almost no adding of people who don't understand what it is. Right? No one is getting added to mine and then going like, wait, what is this? As they get an aggressive email that says,
yeah, I understand, dude. I understand why my rate is higher than yours.
I support Me Too, and then it's like, but this is not a joke, even though the rest of the email was a joke. No one gets that email from me.
Yeah, I understand why my rate's 3 times yours. I get it. Are you wearing glasses underneath your face shield?
It's the face shield that comes with the built-in glasses.
Why do they do that?
So that it will stay on my nose or something, I think. I don't know.
Oh, the face shield. Oh, it's not. It doesn't have a strap. I have a face shield and it's a strap around.
No, I got strapless model.
Is it corrective also? Does it improve your vision?
Yeah, it does. It lets me see at night.
Oh, that's cool. I would get that face shield just for the night vision, actually.
Yeah, it's actually one. I mean, a lot of the reviews were like, it's not effective as a face shield, but it is like the cheapest night vision that I could afford.
Cool. Well, earlier in the show when I was talking about you, one thing that came up was that I wondered why you don't use curse words in your set. And I said that the next time I had you on the show, I would ask you. And not only would I ask you, but I would ask you, and then I would also say that whatever answer you give, you're also speaking for Jim Gaffigan. And that you also have to speak for why you and Jim Gaffigan both don't use curse words. So what's the reason?
Well, I think I actually think this might be true for both of us.
Well, you has to be. So proceed.
One is it just works better when I do that. It has historically people have liked the jokes more. When I tested others when I was first starting, I tried to do both, and that persona didn't work as well. And then I genuinely always get like self-conscious if I do curse about like, oh, but what if like a family's watching or like a kid is seeing this or something.
Yeah, that's the point that I anticipated, was that you're afraid you're going to lose an audience. So my question for you
or
is,
not even lose an audience, that someone's going to be like, why did you say that? And I would like not be able to defend it to myself. And I'd be like, I guess I could have said it in a nicer way.
So who are you picturing that lives in the world?
Yeah.
In 2020, who are you picturing as a person who hears a curse word and then is like, excuse me, why did you do that?
Like a 7-year-old or like a 95-year-old woman.
Okay, and that's your audience. When you
honestly,
do your comedy, you look out and it's a room full of 7-year-olds and 95-year-old women.
I feel like you think that I'm joking, but genuinely the people who have been the most excited about my comedy over the course of my career have been elementary school to middle school students and elderly women.
Yeah, well, I don't know where you got the idea that people in middle school have an issue with curse words. Why do you think that?
That's true. That's true. You know, you're changing my mind. I don't know. It's just then, I feel like whatever you say, you got to be able to stand behind. And I don't like standing behind it.
That's what I'm asking you to do right now.
Yeah, and I don't stand behind it, which is why I wouldn't curse. Okay, well, this was really supposed to be a cameo here because I'm actually in an airport. So I got to go.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Look at that. He just ran off. Well, okay. You know what? It would be easy to make fun of him, but we're looking at a guy whose email newsletter has an unsubscribe rate of 10%. And I have to tell you, as an email professional, that's I have nothing but respect for that. So we can make fun of him all day long for his curse words and his whatever else. But when you're the man whose email newsletter has a 10% unsubscribe rate, he can laugh all the way to the bank.